Now, on a completely different matter, yesterday our Democratic colleagues had planned to begin ramming through their partisan spending spree, but it seems they've had some difficulty getting to the starting line. After all, Senate Democrats, including committee chairs, are essentially being jammed with text from over in the House. Their own members have barely been able to read this thing, let alone shape it. So let's think back to where we were 1 year ago. 11 and a half months ago, the Senate was also discussing a major spending package. In fact, it was the same size as what's being proposed right now, about $2 trillion, an appropriate price tag back at the start of the crisis. But that's where the similarity actually ends. Last March, the Senate was working overtime in a bipartisan fashion to craft good policy from the bottom up. I assembled bipartisan task forces. We had Republicans and Democrats and staff working around the clock to build the policies that would save our health system and our economy. The CARES Act sustained us for almost a year of shutdowns. It funded the health care fight, saved small businesses, and funded Operation Warp Speed, which helped pave the way for these pioneering vaccines and pre-ordered hundreds of millions of doses for Americans. The law sent so much relief to households that even as the GDP declined, personal income and savings actually went up. Even liberal economists say President Biden has inherited an economy that was already primed for a swift recovery. It was the largest American rescue package ever. Yet it passed the Senate without one single dissenting vote because it was built the right way. But that was last March. So what about today? Instead of heading into a dark tunnel, we're accelerating out of it. Incredible vaccines, a rebounding economy, that's what the Biden administration inherited, thanks to what we did last year. But Washington Democrats are trying to exploit the last chapters of this crisis to pass what President Biden's chief of staff calls, quote, the most progressive domestic legislation in a generation. And they've told Republicans, take it or leave it. No openness to meaningful bipartisan input. 10 Republican senators approached President Biden and proposed cooperation on the order of hundreds of billions of dollars. They were refused. All that interested Democrats was a partisan hodgepodge of largely non-COVID related items. Last year, the Democratic leader said that sitting in your own office, writing a bill, and then demanding the other side support it is not anyone's idea of bipartisanship. As recently as last November, he said we need a true bipartisan bill, not this is our bill, take it or leave it. Another time, our friend from New York told everyone to, quote, go look up in the dictionary what bipartisanship is. It's both parties working together, not your party doing a bill and then saying it's bipartisan. So in less than 4 months, we've had two completely different versions of the Democratic leader. The two of them could have had a fascinating debate with each other. But look, the real tragedy here is not Senate process. It's how ill-suited this bill is to what Americans need right now. No policies to get schools reopened right away. No smart solutions to directly spur rehiring. Less than 1% of the money goes to the vaccines that will end this nightmare. Only 9% to the entire health care fight altogether. I guess it's become a rite of passage for a new Democratic president to begin with a poorly targeted spending spree that doesn't give Americans what they need. We already laid the foundation for a roaring comeback. The Biden administration inherited a tide that was already turning, but they've chosen to ignore the approach that got us this far.